What's going on, guys? My name is Philip. I go by Tappa Online if you see me on Instagram and YouTube. I've made millions of dollars in my 20s, fortunately, but this wasn't an accident. I wasn't a smart kid growing up. I wasn't at the top of my class. If anything, I was at the bottom of my class, grinding video games every single day until one day, I was pushed to get good grades and go to college, which I ended up dropping out of college. But this video isn't going to be around my background. It's more so going to be around the lessons that I've learned, things that I wish I told myself in the past to be more successful at an even younger age, because I was always trying to do things outside of school because that definitely wasn't my strong suit. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a lot of lessons that I learned, lessons that I wish I learned earlier, things that got me, this Lamborghini that I'm sitting in right now, multi-millions of dollars generated online, gifts for my family, freedom, anything you could think of, name it, I've accomplished it without being the smartest person in the room. Just requires a lot of hard work and a lot of lessons, which is the first thing I really want to talk about is hard work and determination. Now, like I said, growing up, I wasn't at the top of my class. I would have to study 2 times, even 3 times the amount to get the same grades as the kids at the top of the class. And so I knew early on school wasn't really for me, but I didn't really have an option, because if I didn't go to school, then I would have to work a crummy job and I wouldn't have the skills to get a better job. So I didn't really have a lot of choice when I was younger. I was really pushed in the direction of go to college, get a 6-figure salary. That's pretty much what was it for me. And so on and off, I would say from elementary school to high school to college, I was always interested in like this make money online route, and I started to try a bunch of different things. When I was in elementary school, I started a Minecraft server, mostly because I didn't have a lot of friends. So I wanted to be an owner of a server and have a lot of people go on it and say, hey, this is Philip. This is the guy that created the server. He's awesome. Let's be his friend. As stupid as that sounds, that was my mindset. And then I realized when people were on my server, I could actually monetize. So I started making some money from that, not a crazy amount of money. But when I got on high school, I basically just left that to the side, enjoyed high school, which honestly kind of sucked. I was playing video games every single day because I also didn't have a lot of friends there. And then towards the end of high school, I started trying a bunch of different side hustles online, watching Sam Ovens, Alex Becker, King Com, all those e-commerce guys on YouTube talking about how they're making millions of dollars. So, obviously I tried it, it failed. I tried it, it failed. And I kind of just tried a little bit and failed over a period of a couple years. But the only problem there is that I tried once or twice a year. I gave it my full effort for a couple days, and then I was like, oh, this actually doesn't work. And so because I didn't see any momentum, I tried and failed over a period of years. And what I learned later on is that you just have to fail as much as possible for weeks, even months, and then you'll see some sort of success. And this is something that I wish I learned a little bit earlier on in my journey, because if I knew that it was just about stacking as many failures as possible until something worked, I could have been successful at 10, 11, 12 years old. And so then I got into college. I was 3 years into college before I picked up entrepreneurship again, pretty much. And this time it was because, COVID hit. I was pretty depressed in school. I was heartbroken as well, which we're not going to talk about in this video. But all these things just were stacking up against me, and I was at one of my lowest points for sure. So I didn't go out partying. I didn't do any of that. I just basically started crushing YouTube videos and trying as many things as possible. Drop shipping, agency, you name it. I just kept pushing and kept failing. I ended up doing the drop shipping business model. It's more of a fulfillment model because I started posting content on Instagram. Long story short, I tested enough things over, a couple weeks, and something started working because I was just grinding it every single day. I didn't have to do exams because it was COVID, so I could go to my friend's house and we could do it together. Didn't really have to study, which was awesome. And with that extra time, I was literally waking up every single day at 4 a.m., going to the gym. By 6 a.m. I was just grinding. Nobody bothered me, and I was just failing as much as possible, just pushing forward. And that's really all it's about, because in order to gain the wisdom to make the right decisions, you have to make sure that you have experience under your belt. And the only way to really get experience under your belt is by failing as much as possible. And I know it sounds like such a cliche, oh, you just have to keep failing, but it's so true, because I am not the smartest person in the room. I don't even know what my IQ is, but I am not a genius. And you could tell through my GPA in school. And one thing about that is I feel like a lot of my entrepreneurial friends are in the same boat, because they're not the smartest, and so they're more willing to fail because they're used to failure. And that 0 to 1 point in your journey when you're trying to build your first business and make some profit out of it, that is the hardest part there, because most people fail if they don't see any sort of results. And I see it time and time again, even within my own mentorship community, those students that just push for weeks and months on end every single day, they're the ones that see that momentum. And because they're seeing results, they're seeing the momentum, they just go balls to the wall, all in, and they're the ones that are making 10, 20, even $100,000 a month. And I see it time and time again for older students in there and younger students in there. We have a 15-year-old, he joined, this was a couple years back, he paid me a couple $1,000s. He's like, I want to learn from you. I'm like, okay, bet. And essentially he just went all in. He invested a significant amount of cash that he had. He's 15, and just last year, he was 17, he made his first $100,000 month on his content e-commerce business, which is absolutely insane. And that just goes to show it doesn't matter how smart you are, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can make it happen as long as you are determined and consistently fail every single day. Now, this moves me on to, how do you know that you're moving in the right direction? And you never truly know that you're moving in the right direction. Oftentimes, what I like to tell myself, because look, I'm somebody here that's made millions of dollars, and I want to make more than that, right? I want to make tens of millions of dollars, and I still haven't done that. So I don't really know how to do it. So the question is, how do I know personally, how do I know if I'm moving in the right direction? And it kind of comes back to failing as much as possible. And one thing that I like to look at is I like to heavily involve myself in my industry and look at what all my competitors are doing, the ones that are making tens of millions of dollars. And if I can see what they're doing, funnel hack them, look at their ad library, look at their Instagram accounts, all of this stuff, then I'm gonna tell myself okay, they're doing tens of millions of dollars a year. Let me see what they're doing and try to sort of replicate it, mimic it, try to compete with them, and then try to innovate on top of them and just test more than them, right? It's all about failing more than the person that's above you. That way you can get to their point and hopefully surpass them in the future. So this failure mindset and pushing forward is still what I do to this day, because again, I've never made tens of millions of dollars within 1 year. So I need to consistently fail and test. And you could see this even in the biggest companies in the world. Think about Shopify, think about LinkedIn. How many iterations do they go through every day, every week? They probably do thousands of tests within marketing, fulfillment, every single month to optimize the company, and that's how you're able to grow. So your ability to make money comes down to the following. Number one is having conviction in yourself that you can make it work for you. Number two, being able to fail as much as possible. And number three, which I haven't really talked about yet, is trying to put yourself in the right environment for success. And you don't have to physically be in the right environment. It's more about putting yourself in a community of individuals. It could be online, everything's online these days. Putting yourself in that community, like a Discord community or a Telegram, whatever it may be, Instagram group chat, whatever it may be, make sure that you're surrounded by people that are either more successful than you or are seeing success, or people that you're grinding with. You're all at the same level, just talking back and forth and grinding together. Because that right there, if you put yourself in that environment every single day, all these guys are grinding with you, trying to make it work, trying to make it out, you're eventually going to get pushed by that ecosystem to fail as much as possible, and eventually you're going to see success. It might not happen today, it might not happen tomorrow, but success is a lagging indicator, meaning you have to put months and hours and hours and hours of work until you see one thing work. And once that thing works, that's where you get the momentum. You'll have that momentum and you'll just keep it, start flying. One piece of advice that I would give to my younger self is to stay very consistent and fail as much as possible. Another thing that I see a lot of people do, even I catch myself doing it sometimes, is comparing your chapter 1 to somebody's chapter 30 or chapter 40. When you see these guys online, they've put in years and years of work. Even myself, you look at my Instagram, you're like, I want to be like that person. I've put in years. I've sacrificed a lot to get to the point of where I'm at right now. And so don't let other people's success discourage you from becoming the best version of yourself, and instead use that as fuel to the fire. You have to constantly remind yourself that you can become that person. Because if you constantly remind yourself, your thoughts become actions and your actions become things. And you hear a lot of the greats say it, like Bob Proctor and Joe Dispenza. It's very important that you consistently manifest the life that you want every single day. Even to this day, I wake up every morning, I might do a little bit of work, I might grab a coffee, whatever it is, but every day I practice that. I practice gratitude. I practice envisioning myself where I want to be. Now, although that's good, you should also be grateful with where you're at right now, but also never satisfied. Because if you're grateful, then that means you're living every day in the present and you're enjoying the journey. But if you're not satisfied, that means that you're always going to be pushing for more greatness. Now, funny enough, actually today I dug up an old video from my camera roll. This was in 2020. I was still in my college dorm room. I'll play it for you in a second. If you don't do 1 million in revenue, I'm gonna kick your ass. Don't know if I'm gonna graduate university. Might drop out. That's a possibility. But this was me, one of the first times saying I want to make $1 million. And you could see in my voice there's very little conviction, and it's like I said that for the first time in my life. And the reason why it felt like weird, it felt awkward saying it, is because my whole entire life, the people around me were never really high achievers. Although I love my parents, they didn't really live the life that I wanted to build for myself. And all that was talked about was, go into college, go get a job, get a six-figure job, six-figure salary is amazing. And for me, I was like, okay, sure, I'll try this out. And as I was pursuing the six-figure salary, I realized it wasn't really what I wanted. And the reason why I found out it wasn't what I wanted is because I actually went ahead and pursued some of those careers, some of those jobs. I had a lot of internships. I had jobs anywhere from, pushing carts at a grocery store to office jobs, data science, tech sales. A lot of mistakes that I also see young men make, and this is a sacrifice that you should make, men and women, is wanting a partner, right? Needing a female, wanting the perfect girl. And what you have to understand is the perfect girl will come. You will attract the perfect girl for you as you become the perfect person. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be perfect or she's ever going to be perfect, because nobody's perfect. But what I am saying is that if you want to attract the right person for you, you have to strive to become the best version of yourself. And that comes from a lot of pain. If you want to build a strong person, you have to incur a lot of pain. It's kind of like that whole concept of yin and yang, where you can't really have the good without experiencing the bad. And one thing that I did earlier on is I tried a lot of things. I tried a lot of jobs. I failed a lot of businesses. And looking back at it now, the reason why I work so hard today is because I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back pushing carts for minimum wage. I don't want to go back to the office. Now, I wouldn't even know how that would have felt like if I didn't experience it first. So I do suggest trying a lot of things and always looking back at the bad times in life. Now, I want to talk a little bit about how I made my first 10,000 and how I would do it again if I started from complete zero today. Now, one thing that I look at consistently is where the markets are going and what are trending industries. So back in the day, drop shipping, the whole fulfillment model was trending, and it's still something you can make millions of dollars with today. But what is the underlying skill of that model if you want it to be successful today? And in 2025, it hasn't really been more evident that it is content and AI. Like those two things right there, if you master them, you are going to make millions of dollars, because those are the industries that are going to be around for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And if you look at some of the top companies in the world and the top entrepreneurs in the world, they're consistently talking about content. Now, the reason why they're talking about content and AI is because if you want to compete as a business in 2025 and for years to come, you have to make sure that your content is stronger than everybody else's. And content also has leverage, meaning you can make one post on Instagram organically and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm not even kidding, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've seen it time and time again. So going back to failure, as long as you're consistently learning about content, learning about AI, it doesn't matter if you succeed today. It matters that you're building with a long-term vision in mind. Having the understanding of content and AI right now is one of the most valuable skills. So if you strengthen that understanding again, you will be positioned to find opportunity, to seek opportunity. But you will never be able to capitalize on opportunity if you don't have those skills in the first place. The reason why you see people making $1 million a month or millions of dollars in a year through like the crypto bull run, for example, is because they positioned themselves that way. They were ready and they were prepared to put cash into the crypto markets when the market was down, when it wasn't popular. And because of that, when the market goes up, their portfolio goes up and they get rich. So if you're thinking about time horizon, you have to think about years in the future. Where do you want to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? And that's truly one of the best ways to build wealth, is just thinking long term. I know times can be very, very tough right now, but if you focus on the inputs rather than the outputs, you're going to make it. It's just a matter of time. And one thing that I don't really appreciate about traditional education, college, for example, is they don't really teach you to fail. They teach you to do it right, to work for somebody else. That's just the unfortunate truth of college. And people aren't used to failing, right? They're used to taking the test, passing the test. Okay, I move on with my life. But as you get more accustomed to failing every single day, you're going to be willing to take more risks, even though you don't see the outcome that day that you take the risk. When it comes to traditional education, if it was me now, I wouldn't go to college right after high school, but I didn't even think that it was a possibility to be successful without college, nor did I want to take that risk. And I feel like most people are in the same boat. They don't want to take the risk of just being a bum for a couple years and having people look at you saying, oh, he's not going to college, oh, he's working a shitty job, oh, his life's going nowhere. I was too scared of what people thought of me, and so I got my grades together. I got into a good college. I just picked the hardest program that I could think of, which was a double major in mathematics and computer science at one of the really good schools here in Canada. But the point is that I cared way too much about what people thought of me, what my parents thought of me, what my friends thought about me. And I'll be honest, I was even judging people that didn't go to college. I was like, oh, you know, they're too dumb, ha ha ha, like they're gonna be a failure, blah blah blah, which is the complete wrong mindset to have. When you see somebody trying to do things that are anti-conformity, right? They go against what everybody else or what the majority of the population is doing. You should be inspired by that person and you should say, oh, he has the balls to try. Why don't I? Why don't I have the balls to try? Why don't I have the courage to try to live the life that I want to build for myself? Why am I conforming to all of these norms that people have placed in my life? These are things that I don't even believe in. I don't believe in going to college to be successful. I don't believe in going to college to be an entrepreneur. Why am I doing it? And that's all because I was scared about what people thought of me. And so as soon as you just not give a fuck about what everybody else thinks of you, that's when your life gets a whole lot better, because you start developing your own thoughts and ideas about what you want your life to be like. And that fear of what other people think of you, fear meaning getting a good job, having kids at a certain age, getting married at a certain age, that is probably one of the worst things that you can conform to, because, you know, getting kids or getting married, that's not something that you can really reverse. Well, at least getting a kid. So if you're pressured on things like that in life, then you're gonna end up living someone else's life. Anyways, I yapped for a bit. I hope you guys got value from this. If you want more of this type of content, me just talking and, talking about my experiences, my failures, how you can build the life of your dreams, let me know. I'll post another one soon, and I'll see you soon.